Little Monsters, Big Last Show. This is the Two Sentence Horror Stories After Show.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hi, AfterBuzzers. Welcome to the Two Sentence Horror Stories After Show with AfterBuzz. My name is Maria Brabham, and I'll be your host tonight. We're going to be talking about the final episode 108, titled Little Monsters. And yes, we are live once again from Washington, D.C. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. So let's just get straight to it, because I am amped for this final episode. Again, this episode was titled Little Monsters. It was giving me total It vibes. You know, that's my thing at the beginning of each episode. I kind of tell you, what it kind of reminds me of. But of course, the show is so original. It definitely is subversive. It veers away from anything we know, and it flips everything we think might happen in the beginning on its head. So that's kind of what it was reminiscent of to me, which got me really excited because I'm a huge It fan. Stranger Things, anything with kind of like a story following little kids going on this adventure in this scary world is really cool to me. But this was actually pretty terrifying. So the first sentence of the Two Sentence Horror Story is, I hear my mom yell at me to come for dinner. That was the first sentence, and the opening, the cinematography is usually really, really strong at the beginning of these episodes, and it definitely stood out in this episode for me. So I thought that it was very, very good at making things seem super normal and seem like, cool, we're in a house. Cool, this is a burner, something's on the stove. Oh wait, what's that? There's guts. There's weird dolls. There's cardboard on the floor where someone's probably getting tortured. And then it just goes to this missing child poster, and again, this show is just so good at making things seem normal and then just completely going to like, what the heck is going on? And so I think definitely a little PTSD from last episode. I see this beginning and I'm like, okay, the person, and especially from Tutorial too, where we think, the girl doing the YouTube video, much like we're doing right now, we think that she, is the victim, but it turns out that she is the one who is the perpetrator, who is the villain of the story. And it happened again last episode too. And so I'm kind of thinking, okay, whoever's cooking, whoever is holding this person hostage, is it a situation that's going to be reversed? Is it going to be something where, it's actually not that person who is the victim? Again, they're the villain. But this episode surprised us in other ways. It wasn't quite that, which is great because the show gives us variety in character and storyline. Awesome stuff. So second, I want to talk about, this woman who basically yells at the city guy. I call him the city man because they were at the board. I think this takes place in it seems like New York. They're at the board, where missing children posters are, and this old woman comes up to the city guy and is like, you don't do anything for the city. You suck. And I love that. It's just so raw, and I feel like it's something that really would happen in New York or in some sort of city setting. And one thing to me is like motifs that you see. Did I say that right? Motifs? But I think it's motifs that you see in symbols in, different stories, particularly fantasy, particularly journey stories, but definitely in horror. And for me, one thing I love to see, not overdone, but one thing I love to see is a red door, because we know red doors are bad. I think a lot of The Shining, like Red Rum, red doors are a big no-no. It's a big stop sign, and red is a violent color. It's a scary color. It means something bad is going to happen. So we see this red door that he doesn't go through. It's just there. And so I know that the director or whoever wrote this, whoever designed this scene, I'm like, they had to have done that on purpose. I really want to know. If they're watching it all, comment, call into the show, let us know. But I wonder if that red door was on purpose, and that really stuck out to me. So just know that if you were doing it on purpose, one girl definitely paid attention. So that was really cool. And then I really, again, like I said, I like it sort of things, stranger things, sort of things where kids are going on a journey. And I love the little training scene. That sequence was so cool when the kids were, doing push-ups and bouncing against the wall and on the handlebars, and the little girl falls off. And I thought it was really cool. And usually I have to say, stylistically, I think flashbacks are either done really well or they're done really poorly. And there's a very fine line, and I think it can tend to be cheesy sometimes. You have to be really careful about how you do your flashbacks on shows, and I thought the show in this episode particularly nailed it. The flashbacks were awesome. It wasn't too cheesy over the top with a big flash. But we know that it's a flashback. We see that it's dreamlike, and the little girl in the series, who again love the show because they're so set, and they definitely place importance on representation. And so it's this little Asian girl, and she's so cute, and she has these flashbacks, which are sad, to her mom, who's dying of what seems like cancer. She's going through chemo, and she's like a head wrap, and she's talking to her mom, and her mom gives her the stuffed animal. So, again, this is going to be a huge deal. Again, love how they did the flashbacks and how they called themselves the Demon Team. It's kind of like the Losers. All those, what is it, like the dairy in Dairy, Maine, like they call themselves the Losers. So again, I like how the kids have like their own club. Thought that was pretty cool. And now, we fast forward in the episode, we see these training sequences. We learn about the main character. We learn that the other two boys in this neighborhood, it seems like it's low income because the parents are going to work and they have to leave their kids, which is kind of reminiscent of the episode that was kind of like The Strangers, right? When the mom left her kids to go to work, and it's ironic because the mom was watching someone else's kids while the parents went on a date. And it's just showing like privilege and the luxury of how some parents don't want to leave their kids, but they have to work, and they can't hire a babysitter. They don't have family to watch them. And so next up, I love that this show kind of, again, I talked about it last episode, does sort of recalls and callbacks to something, that happened previously in the episode. And one thing I liked is that, again, in the beginning, we see this series of objects or actions, right? We see the house from the outside. We see the stove burner. We see the guts of the doll. We see the cardboard on the floor, and it's empty. And then what do you know? Once the little boy disappears, we see him on this cardboard that we see in the beginning of the episode where nothing was on it yet. So we see that he ends up here, and we already know the kind of creepiness surrounding this place, right? Because they set the scene very early on in the episode, which was genius. And so one thing that made me feel really, really weird is, and it really scared me, was when the little boy found the tube or like the vent and went to go crawl through the vent. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely thought that his feet, when he kicked them up, because he was crawling, right? His feet kicked it behind him. I thought it was the woman coming to pull him out, and that scared me. I don't know if you guys have moments in this episode particularly, or in the series in general, where you thought something was going to happen, but it didn't. Please leave a comment below. Let me know. Thought that was absolutely terrifying, and he gets to the other end of the tube. But before we continue, I just want to go ahead, and I have a message for you guys. Thank you so much for watching AfterBuzz TV. We call ourselves the ESPN of TV Talk because we love to bring you everything TV. My friend Luisia, you've probably seen her on other shows here. We've done shows together. She always says it's the buffet of TV. There's something for everybody here to watch, and it's so true. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, hi, you can see me. Subscribe below, click the bell notification so you can get a bell ring every time we have a new episode. And if you're listening, give us 5 stars on podcast apps, whatever podcast app you're listening to, whether that's Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Thank you again to Maria and Keven. You guys are both angels, and the rest of the AfterBuzz staff. I love you all. So thanks for watching, guys. Again, most importantly, we couldn't do this without you, the fans. So thank you. Keep us afloat by doing those things for us. And let's jump back into the episode. So we just left off. He climbed through the tube, and now we see the figure, right? Because we saw that it was this person who was a man and then turned to a woman, when it was this really cool shot in the park or in the basketball courts where it was a guy, the city guy, and then he passed behind a wall and became a woman, right? So now we're in the house, and we see this woman, and I really want to know, like I said, this show comes up with crazy movements for these creatures they have on these shows, whether it's an eye blinking, a crawl up the stairs, a kind of posture sort of thing going on. And one thing I really liked in this was the costume. I thought it was, in the makeup, it was amazing, right? So the creature, the devil, whatever it was, the kid eater, was in woman form, and she has super long fingers, but not fingernails. They were like tendrils, like it was like an octopus. It was so weird, and horns. And so if the costume designer is watching this, I want to know, how in the hell did you come up with that? Because I think that's so cool. It's so unique. It's so innovative. And I would have never thought about that on a monster. Like maybe weird teeth, and I know she had like black coming out of her mouth and the long tongue, but I think that was super interesting. Want to know how that happened and how you thought of that. Thought that was pretty cool. And so there we see her for the first time. The other two kids are jetting on their bikes, and they wore helmets like good kids. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I thought that was a sweet little touch. Safety first. pretty cool. And then, of course, we see a white woman outside in the bushes, and she calls the cops on these kids who are not even teenagers who look like they're doing anything bad. They're like, what? They can't be in middle school yet. They're in elementary school probably. And she calls the freaking cops, and she's like, hello, there's kids who are being weird at the neighbor's house next door, which is, one, annoying, because mind your business, old lady. And then second, have you not seen how creepy this woman who lived next door to you? Did she always come home in woman form? I just want to know what that one character was thinking in her head. I know why the writers did it, but I want to know what she was thinking in that moment, which, again, is going to tie into our commentary on the episode later. And so there's that. She calls the cops, and I thought it was kind of this cool other theme of, like, classic boys saying girls can't do anything. I remember I was kind of upset when I was watching the training scenes because the guys, were on the monkey bars doing their thing, and the girl would fall behind, and they were making fun of her, and I was like, they're making her seem weak when she's probably strong. Like, I guess she's a little girl, but I was really annoyed, but I like that they kind of did that as characterization, because by the end of the episode, she saved all their asses. Like, she literally did everything to save them, even though I was so annoyed when she knocked on the door and was like, why are you taking kids' lives? Like, started yelling at the demon. I was like, no, why did she do that? That was such a bad idea. But then, clearly, she saves them. So, good for her. And I like that the mom said, you're in my heart. And that's kind of what set off in the very end, the woman saying, so it set off in the very end, the mom, they came home to the mom, and she's like, that's not me, in the living room. And that's what contributed to the little girl basically stuffing the stuffed animal down the woman's throat, the demon's throat, which I thought was really weird. Honestly, not my favorite ending so far in the series. I thought it was pretty much like a deus machina, which is like a literary term for basically some sort of universal, not a thing, I guess. It doesn't have to be a person, some sort of thing just coming in a same situation that seems super random, and it's kind of like a lazy way out of writing. It just really seems like they were like, we're going to stuff the stuffed animal down her throat. But I didn't get it. I was like, was her mom in the stuffed animal? And then the spirit, it was like good versus evil, and the mom went into the evil person's body? I don't know. Someone please tell me what the heck is going on. I'm guessing that's it. But I really don't know what your thoughts on that were. If you felt this similarly, that it was kind of random, or if you kind of liked it. I want to know your thoughts in the comments. So we've reached the end. Themes here, really, really good themes. Again, I won't go into it because we kind of touched on it earlier, but this whole working parents and the system kind of thing of how these parents are having to work and leave their kids behind, and they're good moms. They can be good moms, they can be good dads, but because they're in the system where they have to work, they have to go provide for their families, they can't always be good parents in traditional ways, like being there all the time at their soccer games and pick them up from school. They have to do hard things and make hard decisions. That doesn't mean they're bad parents. Got that theme from this. And then also, of course, at the very end, the demon shows up as a cop, which is maybe a nod to police brutality, or maybe a nod to abuse of power. I'm guessing it's both. Love that, though. Good theme to end on. And I will say the last line, I'll say both lines together. First line of the horror story was, I hear my mom yell at me to come for dinner. The last line is, as I head out my door, she grabs my arm saying, don't go in the kitchen. That's not me. Final line. Wild. All right, so it's time for our final special segment, and I'm bringing it back. We're going to do Why We Crave Horror Movies. So this is an article written by David DeSalvo. It's in Forbes, and it's basically just highlighting some reasons why we crave horror movies. So I did this before, like I said, in a previous episode. I wanted to round it back up and wrap it up with one of the final things that DeSalvo includes. And he says the reasons why we crave horror movies, and kind of why it's a surprising benefit to us and to our health, is that we grow memories that we associate with them just by watching them. So, of course, it's kind of a given. It elevates mood because, it's a communal experience. You're kind of getting scared, but you're with your friends, you're leaning into them, or, maybe a lover or a potential lover. You're like in a movie theater or something on a first date, who knows? And it's just like an interesting experience you get to share with other people. And he says there's some comfort in recollection, and there's some comfort in the recollection of how we faced our fear. And since those experiences with iconic horror tend to generate lots of chats with friends over time, they offer social bonding benefits that also counterbalance anxiety. So for those of you guys who think, I'm just going to be scared the whole time, it's no fun, I promise you, you can probably think of the one time you went out with your friends and you've seen a scary movie and it was, or a scary TV show, and you kind of like how it makes you feel even though it was terrifying. You face your fear, you get over it, and it's exciting, and you built a new memory and experience. So go out there today, watch something scary. It's spooky season, so this is perfect. Have a good time, y'all. And that's really it from me. So this was the final episode, but we're going to cross our fingers and hope for another season. It hasn't been announced yet. We'll find out. Until then, my name is Mia. I was your host tonight. You can find me on Twitter at HotMessMia. You can find me on YouTube. I'll comment below. Go to my channel. You can find me on Instagram at yours truly, Mia. It was such an honor being your host. Thank you all for watching and for all your comments. You guys are the most active fan base I've seen. So leave comments below. Can't wait to chat with you there. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.